So at this point, I had no debt, credit score is good, and I just had 2 checks. I literally spent that whole year thinking I was going to die.
I thought you were going to say you spent that whole year balling out, right?
No, I had extreme anxiety. Wow. And I was like, this must be what people go through when they're going to die. Because it was like, if I don't have any struggle that I'm trying to overcome now, what's the point of living? That was my mindset. Understanding that and understanding there's so much power, yes, in the hustle and the movement, but there's even more power in stillness and just being intentional.
Because at the end of the day, jobs come and go, but who you are and who you're supposed to be will always be with you if you allow it.
As you think about your future, we don't consider that God is building us to the person we're going to be able to be to sustain what we're looking for. That's a part of the journey, though. It's all in the story you tell yourself. Hey guys, it's Kadi, and I'm the host of As Kadi, the Voice of Reason, and also a resilience life coach, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 447 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. Today I am sitting down with storyteller, speaker, and podcast host Kadi. We are in for a powerful conversation about identity, independence, grief, purpose, and becoming who you really are. Kadi is going to be opening up about her journey growing up as a first-generation American raised by West African immigrant parents, and how being an independent child really shaped the way she approached life, relationships, and success today. She opens up about loss. She lost her mother to deportation very early as a child, and later on lost her father. We talk about what it is like being seen as strong and how you often have to learn how to survive before you even learn how to feel. We also talk about the identity crisis that many high-achieving women, especially like ourselves, face when they realize their job title is not their purpose, why unprocessed emotions eventually show up in our lives, and how spirituality, self-awareness, and honesty, authenticity with yourself are often the real keys to growth. This episode is about resilience, truth, self-discovery, and the journey of becoming who you are always meant to be. As always, if you enjoy this podcast, please make sure you're subscribed, and also find us on social. We are Dreams and Drive on all platforms. And if you want to be part of our email community, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. All right, let's hear from Kadi. Hey Kadi, how are you today? We are back. Well, not back in the I'm saying back in the driver's seat like you were on the podcast before. I think I was on your podcast.
You was on my podcast,
a long time ago, 2019. I don't think I had any kids then. I was just young, wild, and free.
Well, no, I did.
So you had your daughter was young. I think she probably was like maybe.
She was probably 1 because she was born in 2018. Yep.
Yeah. So you were a new mom. You had that studio space out in Orange. Do you remember?
Yes. Oh my God. That was the trenches. Yes. I remember. That's when I first kind of not started out, but it was after I had my daughter and I was trying to find myself again. Because I started like blogging before I had my daughter. And then after I had her, you know how that goes. Like it was this whole postpartum thing. And I was like, I'm going to try this again, but do it podcast form.
Yeah, so, it was just, and I was even thinking, well, wait, how did we really connect? And it was through Sakara, and I think we met at an event, and I would speak. I don't know if I was on a panel or something.
You was the guest. I think you were like the special guest.
Yes, and then you were in attendance. I think we sat at the same table. There was a networking something, and we sat at the same table. And I'm like, this girl is cool. I gotta like, your energy was just infectious. And I think we've just been like digital buddies, internet buddies since then. And then now we have like mutual connections because like is she your best friend? Like one of your besties?
She's like my sister, yes. I met her when I started working at VT, and now you are there.
Yeah, I'm at Paramount, so it's so funny. I feel like I have so many connections with my guests in all different ways, and I guess the long story here for anyone listening is like you never know. Nurture relationships because they'll come back in some way, some form, and the people who are sitting next to you at a random table at an event could in some way impact your life. So let's get started. I love to kick off our interviews taking a little trip back in time. I think it's so important for us to reflect on who we were as children, especially. So if we could go back to, where did you grow up? In New Jersey?
Yes. So I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey.
All right. So young Kadi back in East Orange, right? Back in the trench, not the trenches, but
The,
like
the trenches for sure. It was the
what
trenches.
what was inspiring you back then? Like what was the dream or maybe not? Like just what was your view on the world as a young kid if you can remember?
So I am from Ivory Coast. Well, my family is from West Africa, Ivory Coast. I was born here, but my parents are true immigrants. Did not speak English.
Wow.
My mom had I think, second grade education. My father never went to school. He just did like a lot of handwork. My mom first job was when she was 7. So I grew up, and I think a lot of people who grew up with immigrant parents may have this experience. You're parentified at a young age because you're helping them navigate a culture they don't really know. So as
Yeah.
a kid, I was super wise. Like I have memories of just me at doctor's appointments at like 6 filling out all the intake paperwork, and everyone will be surrounding me like, is she really like filling this out and stuff like that? I didn't know that I would be such a creative enthusiast as I am now, but I did grow up in that kind of environment. My father was big on storytelling. He actually, what we know to be what we're doing now, a podcast, my father would record himself on a tape recorder, and he would record himself giving wisdom and things like that. And it was very popular. Like he would send it back to Africa to his family. A lot of
So
people,
would he do like recordings of it,
it was
or he
like a
just
podcast. Yeah. He will record himself giving wisdom, giving advice. My father was like my family is Muslim, so he's like a religious leader. So in African culture, where people will go to like marriage therapists and family counseling, people will come to my dad. So my house was
wow.
that house where people will come when they're going through issues in their marriage, when there's like family drama, when someone dies, when someone like everything took place in my house. And my father would let me sit and watch. Like I know most adults are like, oh,
How
when you come
old were you at this time?
from the day I was born. But from what I can remember as young as
That's
3.
probably why you talk so much now, right? You just
Yeah, I
love the
remember
gift the
like I
gab.
will open a door. I will remember it'll be a woman just crying in front of my apartment door, like asking to speak to my father. And he would let us, like, people respected my father. So I would be the kid that would want to sit there and listen through the whole thing. And then when they would leave, I would be giving my input, like, why would you tell her to stay with her husband? He's beating her. Like, so yeah, that was pretty much my upbringing. Like I grew up in a house where I was allowed to have an opinion, and like I said, I was parentified, so I was able, even though I'm a person that does well with authority. I listen
Mhm.
well. I also just always had an opinion. And that's what
Do
led.
you remember like any advice or maybe advice you heard or advice your father gave you that just stood out to you, still lives with you today?
So much. Oh my God, so much. My father was like a walking wisdom book, but just from how he lived, he never gave this advice directly. Well, okay, one advice he always gave that I always repeat is I see everything but themselves, meaning like you can't
Mm.
see yourself, but you see everything around you. And because of that, it always made me super curious about myself. Like I'm a junkie with when it comes to like self-help book, personality tests, astrology. Like, because when they say I see everything but themselves, I feel like the whole journey of life is really you getting to know yourself. And you get to know yourself through the experiences you have with other people. So my father was such a people's person. I'm a people's person, not just for the sake of people pleasing, which I struggled with before, but also out of curiosity, like learning myself through the relationships I have with people. So that's one way of life that kind of I use to guide me through life, and just thinking. Like,
You know what? You said thinking, and that reminds me. I don't want to cut off your
yeah,
story,
yeah,
but I
go
know,
ahead.
and we'll talk about this. But I know you lost your father, right? And I
Yeah,
lost
yeah.
my father. But that idea of thinking, my father used to always tell me growing up. He would be like, "If you have a brain, you can't be bored."
Yes.
He would hate when either of us would be like, "Oh, Daddy, I'm bored. I'm Daddy, I'm bored," and he'd be like, "Are you not gonna think? Like,
Right.
if you could think, you can't be bored." So that's just triggered in me this idea of like it's so think about if you people who don't. I don't know if you ever think about this, but like there are some people who didn't grow up having any wisdom around them in the sense of like someone pouring into them or being able to hear your father pour into other people, that has an impact on your self-esteem. It has
For
an impact
sure.
on your confidence. It has an impact on your own ability to articulate. And I
For
think it's a
sure.
blessing that we as women, especially, were around men who instilled in us this courage to listen to our own words and to
For
trust our own
sure.
words,
For
right?
sure. Yeah, you hit it on the nail, especially I know you're Caribbean, I'm African. There's
Mm,
this like cultural norm where the woman is like gotta be in the kitchen, gotta cater to your man. So I grew up really admiring the men, like as far as role models. Like I always just wanted to be like my dad. Like I want to walk in the room, command the room. I don't want to be the little ditzy girl in the corner, just like an airhead. But yeah, it's true thinking. And I'm learning even with raising my child that like critical thinking is a skill that you have to constantly sharpen. So the
yeah.
fact that my father created an environment where I was allowed to think, that's why I'm able to like problem solve the way I do. Like, I mean, we're living in the worst economy we could possibly live in. And like, if you don't know how to think, which I experience adults like that all the time, where it's genuine. Like a lot of people not in a insulting way like oh they just are stupid, literally the ability to go into your mind and allow thoughts to process or to be influenced by your environments to create to solve a problem. People don't know how to do it, and I think it's because as kids they weren't giving that opportunity to sharpen their critical thinking.
And I get so frustrated. I'm like, what you mean you can't just sit here
No,
and
for
process
real.
what's going on, come up with a plan, and then execute it? It's not that difficult, but it
We
really
say
is
that we take it for granted that we got to learn that young because it is hard for a lot of people.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like I think for me too, like I grew up with like my mom was disabled and my dad had to kind of
Mm.
step into a caregiving role very early
Mhm.
on. So it was like I saw my dad do everything. Like he could cook,
Wow.
clean, sew, do our hair. Like he was somebody who was like, I'm not gonna make excuses. So I feel like seeing somebody just teach me, you could either you could cry about it or you could do something about it. And it
Right.
was one of those things like Raina, cry for a little bit, but don't let that be your whole story. And even now that he's not here, one of the things that I think has gotten me through this grieving process is he would be so mad if he knew I was out here just like boo hoo hooing every day. He would be like, you got to do something with that energy, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
take that energy, do something with it. But I don't want you over here just in the corner. Of course, be
Wow.
sad, but it's like one of those things that I think like, yo, my dad would have been like, just keep moving,
Right.
try, like
Right.
acknowledge the feeling, but like you got to still do other things.
That's oh my God, we have so much in common. My mom was deported when I was 9. So my father
Okay.
raised me and my sisters as a single parent all the way up until adulthood. So I got to see my father. And I think men in general, when they are put in a position like your dad to be a caregiver or like
Yeah.
my father being a single parent, they're more thinkers than feelers. So I'm in therapy trying to learn how to feel now because I done thought my way through life and now I'm like, I forgot how to feel. I was never taught that part of it, which I do believe there is like there's a gift in that too. But I feel like men don't like to sit in
It's,
their
you know
feelings
what's
for too
funny when
long.
thinking about feelings, like I feel like my dad kind of, now that it's funny because there's certain things I never thought about my dad until he
Hmm.
died. I'm like, wait, he was someone's son and he lost his mom the same age that I lost him. But he never talked like he talked about my grandma in the sense of like I love my mom. She was the best mother. But he never talked about what it meant for him to be a parent without his own mother there, right? And he never talked about feelings, like you said. So it never occurred to me, oh, he could be sad. Like it just,
Yeah.
I
Oh gosh.
never,
Yes.
I never thought of, and it's so I'm like, why did it take until him dying that I'm like, yo, there
Do
were
you
probably
realize
times
that?
when he was sad as hell, but he had to still show up. And imagine if he was able to say, hey, Raina, I'm sad right now. But he probably was like, he was a workaholic. He had like,
Yeah.
Jamaicans, the whole lore, like
Yeah.
Jamaicans
Yeah.
got 18 jobs. He had
Right.
23 jobs, right? And it was just one of those things of, he was probably not even dealing with his own feelings. So like, what can we learn from that? And then how do you come out and then work through that? Girl, we could do this.
Yeah.
Could be a whole
That's
podcast
a
just
whole
about
topic
that.
in itself, girl. Because that I went through that same journey and just thinking process. Even with like I just have one kid. My father, me and my
Yeah.
sisters are close in age. So I was 9 when my mom was deported. My sister was 10, and my youngest was 7.
Oh
And it
wow.
wasn't until I had my kid, and I remember having
And
I had
just all
a
girls. So
meltdown.
he didn't have
All
any.
girls. I mean, he has
Wow.
other kids in Africa. Oh, in total, my father has 20 kids. But this was one. Him and my mom together only have 3. And
Okay.
also, you got to think he growing up in Africa. The fathers, they go, and he grew up in a village. So it's like dads go out of town to work. The mothers were the caretakers. So that was
Yeah.
his first time being in a position in a foreign country. And I'm the caretaker. And I have a big family, but I don't have, like, we have a community. Most of my blood family is still in Africa and France, but we grew up in a small community in East Orange where there was like a lot of Africans. You
Okay.
know how they have little Caribbean, little, our
Yeah.
building was all African, so I grew up looking at them as family members. But I didn't have a family. You know, most people like I got grandma, I got granddad. No, it was my dad and my mom. That's it. When it came to like our immediate family, so we only relied on him. We had people in the community that would step in and help here and there, like give us food and stuff. But
Hmm.
it was solely him. And I remember having a meltdown because it didn't click for me until I had my daughter like, oh my God, my dad was losing he didn't like my mom went to work one day and ICE took her. So it wasn't planned. And I remember as a kid, I didn't have the words for it, but I remember feeling it. I'm naturally an empath. So I remember like I dislocated my knee. My cousin stepped on my knee and they had to call 911. Whenever I would get hurt or sick, my immediate thought would go to my dad. Like, I don't want him to be worried. So I remember
Mm.
coming back from the emergency room with crutches and I'm like, I'm gonna pretend I could walk. So he couldn't, so he don't see that I'm hurt. Or I remember I would get stomach viruses a lot and I
Mm.
was throwing up and he's like, he's old school. We never went to the doctors or anything. He didn't know
Drink
anything
some tea.
about
If you
that.
was in a Caribbean household,
Yeah.
you'd have been drinking some
He
tea,
took
some mint
lemon
tea.
and gave it to me. He was like, this is gonna fix it. I promise you, this is going. So he gave me the lemon, and I just remember I could feel myself about to throw up. And I hid. I went in the bathroom and hid and threw up. And I probably was no older than like 10 at this time. I'm
Yeah.
hiding to throw up. And then I came back. He's like, that medicine, the lemon worked, right? I'm like, it works. So I didn't know to call it stress, but I just remember having this intense pressure to not overwhelm my dad even more. Even in school, people would be like, "Do it," because I wasn't a bad kid, but if I'm joking around and then the kid be like, "I'm gonna call your parents," the teacher said, "I'm gonna call your parents," I will quit right then and there. And I'm sure people would think, "Oh, her father probably abusive," but I was so conscious of he's working, he's a single father. I don't want him to
Yeah,
have to
that's
stop
also
work to come
heavy.
home.
That's kind of
Yeah,
heavy when you think about it. Like, because you have a daughter now, Arlie. I have Axel, and it's like I'm always so aware of like when he's not. Like, I'm like, why are you sad? What's going on? What
yeah,
you thinking? Like,
yeah,
and sometimes he could just be in his feelings, and it's hard for me as a parent to just allow him to be. But I wouldn't want him to do that. But
yes, yeah,
they're their own people. They process, they see the world differently. I know we're talking about your dad, and I'm just kind of going with the flow here of this
yeah,
conversation,
yeah.
but I think it's important for us, and you talked about this idea of like self and who we are, and going back to that. On the flip side of having your dad here, what do you think the effects of not having your mom? Because I
Mm,
feel like that's a trope that we don't really dive into a lot
for
of, and
sure.
it wasn't against it was against her will, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she was taken by force and deported, and it's just kind of one of those things of as a woman growing up who I feel like you're a successful woman today, right? Like you did your thing in spite of,
Yeah,
but now
yeah.
looking back, what do you think, or how do you think the absence of your mother kind of has affected you now?
Oh, that is what I'm navigating now. So my mom did right after my father passed, she got approved again to come back to the US. So she
Isn't
is
that
here
crazy?
now.
Like what?
It's so crazy, but I feel like God does things for a reason because I had to learn so much from them individually. But my
Mm,
mom not being here, that is really took a toll on me because of her being far away, we didn't really have a relationship. Like I didn't like talking to her on the phone. And I think it was because I would never forget. First, they arrested her, which they do with ICE going on now. What they do, they'll detain you, and then because she didn't know how to read and write, she signed a paper that said, "I'm going to willingly leave the country." So, and then we took a lawyer. The lawyer took all the money. It was just a mess. So she ended up getting deported that way. But I remember the first call. My older sister was on the phone with her. She was only 10. And she's like, okay, pass the phone around so everyone can speak to her. And I get on the phone and I remember just saying, I'm hungry. Because my mom was that mom. Before it was my dad, my mom was the one taking the school shopping, feeding
Yeah.
us, doing all the things. And I was like, I'm hungry. And my sister snatched the phone away from me and was like, no, don't say that. Don't say that.
Mm.
So that set the tone for how I was like, okay, I'm 9, 10, 11, middle school, high school. This I couldn't tell her the things that I was going through because my mindset was just like with my dad, I don't want to overwhelm them.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then just I like the nurturing part. So I had to learn that through my daughter. And my mom, she's super ambitious. Like I get my
Hmm.
ambition, my hard work from her. My father, I get my talent and my ability
Yeah.
to talk up a
But
storm.
isn't
But
it
my mom,
crazy how nature versus nurture comes? Because although she wasn't here, you still inherited so much of.
so
I mean, she
much.
raised you up until 9 here, but like,
But it was a lot of it
you
was
know.
just her. Like I just feel like we have the same. Like we are just go get. Like my mom came back. She figured she got her own apartment. We didn't have to do all the things for her. Like she figured she's super independent. But as far as emotionally, my I had to learn, and I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm not a person that's in my feelings, and I think it's because of that strained relationship I had with her. And now she's trying to cultivate it, but it's like awkward.
Girl, like,
Like
what you mean you want to talk about
yeah,
this?
my sisters are super like they talk about their relationships with her, all that. I'm just not that kind of girl with her. And I know it bothers her, but I think is I've heard someone say this, it's like the thing that you praise your kid about young is the thing you're not gonna like about them older. When I was young, my mom had three toddlers at the same time, three babies. We are all born
Ooh,
in December. Me and my older sister are Irish twins, so we're the same age at one point.
wow.
So I was always the kid from young. My older sister grew, she had asthma, she was a preemie, she had eczema, she was a very attached to my mom. So then here I come, super independent, can do things on my own, can read and write really quick.
Mm.
I'm the one going to the store at like 7 years old, get groceries and stuff. So that helped my mom a lot. It was always something I heard growing up a lot. You don't have to worry about her. Kadi, don't worry about you don't have to
But you
worry
know,
about.
we gonna talk about that
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
think that's a blessing and a curse to that
It's a
phrase.
curse. I'm living the curse now because it's like I don't know how to let people show up for me because I don't want to just put it on my parents because now that I have my daughter, we share a lot of the same personalities, completely different life, and I see her
Mm,
dealing with those struggles even in school. Like I see teachers are just like, she's so independent, she's so this. And like people, you don't gotta worry about her because when you're that easygoing child, that's all people consider. We don't have because we don't wear our emotions on our sleeve. We might not notice. People won't notice that we are going through things because we don't express it externally. So all adults see is they're okay. They're smiling, they're laughing, they're okay. But deep down inside, it's like we want somebody to be worried about us too. So yeah,
they need a
that
little. Sometimes those girls or boys, whoever, like they need a little extra nurturing or they need that extra check in. Like just because
right,
they're
right.
seemingly okay, it's kind of like the black woman trope where they say black women don't need the help. Like no,
Oh
we need
Lord,
it.
yeah, we
We
need
need
it.
it. We're
Yeah,
successful, but also we are burning out quicker.
for sure.
We're putting up with things we probably shouldn't be putting up with in like different aspects of life. Like we just keep going and going and going and going.
And
At some
one day
point, you
you'll
gotta,
just it'll catch
yeah.
up to you. That's one thing I've learned, especially in this season I'm in life. Like nothing goes away. Everything that you're dealing with, everything that all the unprocessed emotions, it don't just disappear. It literally sits in you, and then one day it will manifest. And a situation will come into your life that will make it come out. So I'm just going through
Mm,
what I was supposed to go through in my toddler stage. I'm
mm.
lashing out. I am like ending relationships without caring about being perfect about it. I'm just like, I don't care. I'm being mean. Like, it's gonna
Yeah.
sound crazy to a lot of people, but those are the things I felt like I didn't have the luxury to do when I was young that I'm giving myself the opportunity to do now.
It's better you doing it in like your 30s and you're not like 50 and 60 when you're gonna need the extra help. I'm
No,
like,
for real.
you
Like they
could.
I done cut everybody off and now nobody's here to wake me up. It's like, yeah, no, that's true.
Let's talk a little bit about like the teenage years, because I think it's like it's kind of fun to like kind of just take this little trip back in time, right?
Hmm.
Teenage years, figuring out who you are, figuring out like what you want to do with your life. Like, what was your direction, and then how did it pan out when you think about college and all that?
Oh, that's interesting. So I was I didn't my dad, he wasn't like, oh, you got to go to college. Like they didn't know anything about that. But I
Yeah.
always grew up being the kid, like, oh, you're the smart one. You like to read, you like to write, like things like that. but I was so easily influenced by my environment. Like, so I went to a
Mm.
performing arts school. I was in a
Cicely
dance.
Tyson?
Yeah, I went to Cicely
Okay.
Tyson, and I was a dancer. So I didn't really have my future planned out. I just always knew I wanted to be like big. Like, I know I just want to
I
do
feel like you have like Oprah energy. You just have that like star
that's
energy.
like, yeah, but crazy enough, my teenage years, I wasn't like that. I
Mm.
wasn't like that. I mean, I had the personality, but I think I always seek external. I was only as much as other people will see that I am. So growing
Mm.
up with my family, everyone knew I'm talkative, but they, growing up in my environment, no one saw past that. No one said, "Oh, you're gonna be a talk show host, or you're
Hmm.
gonna have a podcast, or you're gonna go to college." They never went that far. They would just be like, "You're really funny. Oh, you give really
Hmm.
good advice." Or you know what I'm saying? So it's like because that was the advice I was given, and I seek external validation so much that I didn't see past that. It wasn't until senior year. This is going to sound so crazy, but my senior year, the guidance counselor came into the classroom. They're like, okay, we're going to be doing GPAs. And I'm like, what the fuck is a GPA? I did not know. I was like, oh, so all of it. So they explained. I'm like, so all of the grades from freshman year count. And I would just do enough. Like, I wasn't really, I was more of a creative. So I did enough to not like,
You weren't failing, but you
failing.
weren't
But I
trying
didn't
to.
try my best. Like I didn't because I am a bigger picture person. If I don't know what I'm doing, something like what's the bigger picture,
Yeah.
I don't apply myself that much. So it was like, oh, I didn't know these grades. We were collecting these grades the whole time. So when I found out my GPA, which was a very struggling 2.3, I'm like, I gotta find a way to get into college. Because my mindset was not, I'm gonna go to college, get a career. It's like, hold up, school is over. School has been my life. Like I,
It's been your
getting away
anchor,
from
it
my
seems
years been
like.
my anchor. It's been like the thing that helped me not have to deal with what I was dealing with at home. So I was like, I have to continue this. I need structure. Believe it or not, I was given so much freedom as a kid growing up with older foreign parents. I had so much, and then my personality type, I had so much freedom. So for me, I crave
You
structure.
turned out pretty well for a girl who had
Yeah.
a lot of freedom,
No,
though.
but I think because it happens in the reverse, when you don't have freedom, you wild out. But because I had so much freedom, like I
Yeah.
was the kid that like, my friends were like, "Yeah, we about to go to this party," and I'd be like, "My dad said I can go." Whole time I could go, but I will be in my mind like, if they start shooting, or if they doing drugs, or if they do, like I loved structure. So I'm like, I need this structure after school. So I remember the recruiters would come from different colleges, and I'm like, baby, these grades ain't gonna do it, but this personality
Mm.
is. And I would talk to the recruiters, and like this one recruiter from FDU, that's where I ended up going. He loved me. He said, "Look, we're gonna get you into our school. Like you are a gem." So, yeah, I didn't have. I knew I just always did what I felt, but I didn't know how far I wanted to go as a teenager.
I love that you share that because I feel like we all have these unique little things about us, but the idea that like at the core of it, you did have this sense of self and you did have this sense of like knowing how to lean into the things that you knew were your gifts. What would you say were the things, or not even what would you say? What do you think right now are your gifts, your superpowers?
I would say my superpower is really perspective. Like I have
Mm,
the ability to just look at any situation from 500 different ways. And I think it
mm,
comes from my upbringing. It comes from me being a part of multiple cultures. I'm young, I'm black, I had grew up with foreign parents. Like you don't get taught these things. Like I grew up in a household where I was eating with my hands. It's not like my parents told me, you're gonna go to school and you gotta learn how to eat with spoons. You gotta like no, it's like I was
yeah.
in a very African household, and then I go to school and people are doing completely different things, and no one is breaking that down for you. So it's like culture differences. So my ability to just like it's a survival instinct for me to look at any situation from 100 different ways, and also resilience.
Yeah.
Like I am extremely resilient. I can be going through anything. It's actually a little scary. People say like I could be going through anything and I'm
You could
still.
be like, you could be in a fire, but all right, let me figure
Yeah,
out
no,
this big
literally.
picture, how
And I
much time I
function
have
so
left.
well in it. It's actually very bad. It's like I'm learning now, the soft girl era. Like, okay,
Mm,
I don't need to be in chaos to survive. I
mm,
would never forget when this whole remote thing started going on in COVID. I was working as a contractor for Discovery Plus, and then I
okay.
got a role at SiriusXM. The contract role, I knew they will eventually make me permanent, but it was supposed to end in December, and then I got the role at SiriusXM. So I was just being funny because everything was remote. I'm like, I wonder if they would let me keep both jobs. Like if I just be honest with the contract roles. So I was like, I'm gonna ask. So I was like, listen, I got this role at SiriusXM. Would you guys allow me to finish my contract out? Just let me be flexible with the hours. Like I will still do the 8 hours, but I can work overnight for you guys and stuff. And they was like, okay, as long as it's not TV, SiriusXM is radio, you
Mm-hmm.
can stay. So I had two full-time salary paying jobs at the same time. And I would never forget. And that was my also my first time moving out. Like I lived with my sisters. We would always split the rent.
Okay.
I was on my own. Both checks, like at the thought
And
of
you
it,
had a child by this
and I had a
point.
child. So I was balancing all of that. And I would never forget both checks hit at the same time one day and I caught a panic attack. You would think people would be like, not, it didn't just hit at the same time. A week prior, prior to that, I was unemployed because COVID hit. So I got laid off from Nickelodeon, but I started becoming financially responsible. So I started paying
Mm-hmm.
my debts off. So at this point, I had no debt, credit score is good. And I just had two checks. I literally spent that whole year thinking I was going to die. And that is correct. I really
Wait, can
had,
we unpack that a little bit?
yeah,
I'm not a
sure.
I am not a licensed therapist, guys, but I thought you were gonna say you spent that whole year balling out, right? But
No, I had extreme
wow.
anxiety and I was like, I this must be what people go through when they're going to die because it was like if I don't have any struggle that I'm trying to overcome now, what's the point of living? That was my mindset. And I
Wow.
battled with it. It was so bad. Like it was the best and worst year of my life because mentally that's when I lost it. Every day it was just extreme. Like I
Was
had
it
to
not even
run.
the stress of doing both jobs? It was just the
No,
stress
the
of
job, that was the crazy part. The jobs was so easy. Like when I finally told the official job that like y'all know I had two jobs, they're like, we would have never known. The other job, honestly, they'll give me a little Excel sheet to do here and there. The work will take 1 hour to do. I'm getting paid for 8 hours. I was in
okay.
Italy at one point with both laptops. Like, and then the new job I had just started, it got heavy towards like I was there for 4 years, but in the
Okay.
beginning, everything was super easy, super light, and I'm home. So everything was easy. I'm like, I don't have no debt. I'm paying my bills and I still see money left over. I have a savings. It was the worst. I was dying every single day. I really was battling with I'm about to die. Like, I think life is over now.
How did you work through that? Or how, like, what was the point where you either realized, hey, I need some help with this, or the feeling shifted to
I
something
did
else?
go to therapy, but a big part of it was reprogramming my nervous system. Lot of
Mm.
affirmations like and it's time like it to have a whole extended year of still being in that space where nothing came up nothing and I was still dealing with stuff but it was like oh I can solve it. It took, mind you, my life has been chaotic for the most part all up until adulthood.
Yeah.
So 1 year it was like every day was a day of panic attack and now being in my body, that's why I mean knowing how to feel. It's like I'm in my body now, so I'll catch it. I'm having anxiety attack. I will sit. I was. This is why I learned the breathing activities. I started working out. Like it's not something that you have to mentally understand. It's something that you have to physically process. So as
Yeah.
I'm being more aware, like I'm. That's when I started using the words. Oh, my anxiety. My this is acting up. My that because, and then I'll just allow myself to sit through it. It's still something I work through now. It's much
Hmm.
better, but it was really just reprogramming my nervous system.
Ooh, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's just being so transparent about because most people think, oh, it's the stress of having to do the two jobs or whatever, but really it could just be the stress of like, what does this mean? Or
Yeah.
how long can I sustain this? Could you imagine how it must feel like when you're really rich and you feel like, what if it gets
I
taken away
said
from you?
that. I saw this quote and it sticks to me all the time. It says some people are lucky because money is their only problem. And for real, because once
Mm.
I ain't rich, but like I was dealing with day-to-day money problems. So once that stopped being a problem, you really that's when the real existential crisis start happening. What do you like? What do you think? What like
You
when I
start to realize the other things
the
around you
bigger
that,
picture of life like it's like and I'm not at a great place financially but I've mastered the day-to-day struggle so now I'm more so thinking about I don't even think about just my daughter I think about the grandmother I want to be the legacy I want to leave but it really is an existential crisis because you really start and I think we're all going through that now in this just economy and society we're living in we're moving away from the get the good job and get this and you made it no you still the problems don't stop just because you're in a better place financially. That's when the real problems start because we're here to master ourselves. So I had nothing but time to sit with. what I was going through as a child. I told you I have meltdowns about my dad, and now it's like, oh my God, I seeing my daughter, this is so crazy. One meltdown, I have the craziest meltdown. One like real meltdown I had was my daughter will wake up all the time with her nose stuffed, right? And I'm like,
Hmm.
she'll be like, my nose is stuffed, my nose is stuffed. So I'm like, I'm really stressed out about this. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get an air purifier. So I got the air purifier, and that helped, like, she don't wake up with stuffy
Yeah.
nose. I went through that a lot my whole childhood. I went through a lot of things. Like I would be super sick, super this. My dad didn't know about doctor's appointments. And I think he was prideful to go ask for help. So we didn't go
Yeah.
to doctors ever since my mom left. From 9 up until 18. We didn't
Wow.
go to physicals. We didn't get any shots, none of it.
How y'all get through the East Orange
The only
school
thing is when we
system?
would have to get specific shots, which
Oh,
was
like
like
the
once
the
or
school
twice.
clinics and stuff,
The
they would
school,
do
we would
this
go to
stuff.
the East Orange Clinic. If it's like, oh, you can't go to the school until that, but we would go to like the East Orange Clinic. But aside from that, it was like we were thugging it out. So I think of things that I had like toe infections, and I literally started crying. Like, I can't believe you went, like, just parenting your inner child. That's what I've been doing. So
Yeah.
it's like, seeing it's hard to see my daughter and not see that you were once that age and you were going to the laundromat at
Yeah.
you're by yourself at this age. That's crazy. So, yeah.
But you made it through, right? And
Yeah,
like now
yes.
I think the beauty that we have as parents is we have so much more and we're so much informed about so many things that our parents might not have been that we have a chance to create a new life for a new
Yeah,
generation and
yeah, for sure.
hope that we're giving them like perspective and hope they're appreciative of it one day when they grow up. They're gonna be
They
like,
would
my
never
mom did
understand.
this.
They would never understand.
Like thinking about like I'm just trying to think about like the other themes that we're talking about, and I feel like our generation, like millennials, millennial mothers, black women, there's so many unique things that we're dealing with, and I feel like this idea of trying to balance things is really huge, right? Balancing work, balancing motherhood, balancing like who we are as people. What
Yeah.
do you feel like is one of your biggest challenges now as you're just navigating what it means to be a dream driver for you personally?
As far as motherhood or just in general
Anything
balancing
like
all the things.
the big buckets.
I think I don't think I struggle with balancing things. That's
Hmm.
gonna sound crazy, but I
No,
think
no,
it's because
it doesn't have to be. I just want to know what your unique. Like for me, I feel like that's one of the big things I'm struggling with is balance. But what are you? What would you say is your like if you could name it? Like what's this era of life for you now?
authenticity. Like now that I am moving away from external things validating me, the
Hmm.
media industry we work in was super fickle. I've been laid off 4
Yeah.
times. I was recently laid off from
Oh man.
SiriusXM last year. But for me it shows my growth because I was really like, oh no, I'm about to figure this out outside of like a 9 to 5. I want to really be an entrepreneur. I really want to just live authentically. So that's the biggest thing because we spend our whole lives being validated by the work we do, our
Mm.
grades, our talent, people, social media, that now I'm really just locked in with God. Like, what do you want me to do? And also not operating from a place of, I got to do this because it looks good, or I got to do this because I got to pay my bills. I got to do this. Like, that also it triggers my anxiety because that fear of losing it all, but also is building my confidence because that's the place
Mm.
I'm at now. I really just want my life to reflect authentically to myself outside of the validation.
For somebody who is also on an authenticity journey, like what are the lessons that you've learned, like the real life things that you've been doing and kind of that's helped you?
Um, Being in my body and feeling things. I'm learning now that things that what I want to do is what I knew back in freaking fifth grade. I just never
Mm.
thought that I thought I needed to be validated.
Tell me, what was that thing? Fifth
So
grade.
I wouldn't even say I've been doing what I do, like how I talk on my podcast, talk about resilience, my passion for just helping people, helping people understand themselves has been a thing. And
Mm.
I'll give a perfect example. In eighth grade, we had a teacher who she was a history teacher, but on Fridays she will have something called the circle, and
Okay.
we'll get a chance to talk about things that's going on in our lives. It was like a therapy thing, and to get to know the kids. So we won't learn anything about history. We will sit in a circle and everyone will talk about things that they're going through. So people
Okay.
were talking about boys, people were talking
Mm.
about how they were abused. It gets deep. We will
Ooh.
walk out the class crying. Now, I was a late bloomer and super shy, quiet, friendly kid. So I wasn't going through much. But at the end of the year, after doing this circle throughout the whole year, we would do something called the hot seat. And you would sit in the middle of the circle, and every single student in your class will tell you things that you need to hear about yourself, criticism, compliments, whatever. And I remember sitting, I could not wait for my turn because people was going in. They was telling the mean girl in the class, you bully people too. Like people was not holding back. And like I said, a passion and obsession of mine was always getting to know myself. So I love an opportunity. I don't care how bad, I don't care about, I love to hear about myself, especially in the worst way. I love to hear like what I need to work on. So I was so hyped. I'm like, yo, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I get in the middle, literally 30 kids in class. Oh, Kadi is great to talk to. She gives good advice. She's great to talk to. She gives good advice. She's great to talk to. She's funny. She gives good. Those the three combination.
Like, where's my, come on, I
I
want
was
someone to say
so
something.
disappointed, but my teacher, the teacher would go as well. The teacher would say, "How do I explain this?" She was like, I agree with what everyone said. She was like, but Kadi, you just, she couldn't find the words, but she gave me this example. She was like, you give me, like, you will be at college, and mind you, we're in eighth grade. She said, I could see you in college working on something that you're super passionate about, working on your work. And then a bunch of friends will come in and say, hey, Kadi, let's go out and do this. And you would just go. And
Mm,
that spoke so much to who I was, such a people pleaser, such a, like I would abandon myself. I wouldn't even say a people pleaser. I was so quick to abandon myself for other people because I was seeking that validation, I guess, that I've lost from not having my mom. But
yeah,
the whole you love giving advice, you're great this, you're good to talk to, you get advice, you get along with people. That is that's authentically me. Like I
yeah.
genuinely love to problem solve, love to like, help people get through their issues and stuff. And that's all I care about now. Now, I remember before when podcasts just started out, I had a friend Ralph who was super business savvy. And this was
Hmm.
when BBMs was out. And he was like, Kadi, you should do a podcast. There's this thing
When you
called
said
podcast.
BBM, I thought you were saying BBL. I'm like,
Oh
BBL.
no, no.
I'm like, what was a BBM again? That's the
BBM, I think the
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry phone.
Yes,
So
I
iPhones
remember.
weren't even a thing. And he's trying to explain to me what a podcast is. And he was like, how do you would do so great in this, that. And I'm in my head like, no, I want to be a radio host. No, I want to be a radio host. I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And I never paid it any mind. And look, radio is down and podcasts. And this was before Joe Budden started. Like, so I
Yeah.
was like, if I would have started back then, I would have taken off. So I say that to say that we don't need to like, I think we spend our whole lives tying our purpose to an actual career title where it's really just so basic. It's really the simple things that you've done as a kid. The thing that like I used to attribute a lot of my characteristics to my childhood, like, oh, because I grew up with immigrant parents and my mom. No, I just naturally have always been a problem solver. Like
Yeah.
I just put me in any situation, I will figure it out. So I say that to say now I'm learning that the core of me have always been passionate about people, speaking, inspiring, and teaching. And that's what I'm trying to cultivate my life around without tying it to a career title because we're constantly, the economy is shifting. We
These
got
jobs
AI
ain't
now.
loyal,
Yeah,
right?
these
These.
jobs ain't loyal. I mean, the economy isn't loyal. Look how radio was the thing. People literally built their whole life around being a radio. Look how they just got rid of Ebro at Hot
Bro.
97. Like
Yep.
it's like because we have AI now, what's popping now is not going to be popping then. But who you authentically are, you can apply that to
That's
whatever.
never gonna change. Like as
It's
long as
never
you
going to
are
change.
living, it's like everything around you changes. Of course, you would hope that you evolve, you become either a better whatever it is that you're good at. But it's like your you is always gonna be you. So it's best that you get some time. You take some time to know who you are.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
your superpower.
so many people are running from that because I feel like it's hard, especially if you have to confront dark things about yourself, you know? And I know for me, motherhood has taught me so much about like my own fears, my own like I was thinking today, I was like, if Axel or Diesel ever wanted to play football, I'd be like, no, you cannot, because you will
Right.
die. Right. But then I thought
Right.
about it. I was like, are you gonna become that parent who like
Right.
doesn't let their child, let's say
Care
that's
about
their
this.
passion. They're not leaning towards that right now, and I'm not encouraging it. But let's
Mm,
say one day he's like, "Ma, I want to become the next." I don't even know who's a great football player.
don't get me to lying. I don't even
Any,
know. What's
anyway,
Stephon Diggs?
what?
That's all
Right?
I know.
I was
Shout out
thinking
to
of him
Cardi
too. Right?
B.
Whatever. Right? Who am I? Who am I to
Right.
say no? You're not. And so it's like, but wait. Who taught you that you should be scared of things that might physically hurt you, right? Or like,
Yeah.
why is it that you don't want to encourage this? Or so motherhood will like test you, and it's the whole idea of like But if that's him, it's better that I cultivate this courage in him, this curiosity in him, because I could
Right.
block something that could really block his blessings.
For
And I don't want to be that.
sure. Yeah,
I
that's
don't want to
funny
be
that you
that.
said that because I have a dog. It's a running joke. I grew up terrified of dogs. All of them. Me
Okay.
and all my sisters, like we will see a dog blocks away, we will start running. I got a dog while still being scared of dogs, right? So it took me a while to get used to my dog. Now we've had him for 4 years, and I'm still scared of other people dog. Like you can't just bring no dog around me, jumping around me.
Your
But the
dog is
reason why
different.
I got that dog was, like I said, I got to a point, and this was during that stage where I went through that whole anxiety panic attack, asking the whys. Like, why
Mm,
am I scared of dog? I ain't never been bit by a dog a day in my life. Why am I scared? And if the why is
yeah.
not good enough for me, if it doesn't come from an authentic place, I will just, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it. Like I'm scared of flying. I travel all the time. People,
It's so
people,
crazy.
yeah.
It's also funny. I'm gonna tell you what I was scared of, but I'm actually happy that I'm not scared of it anymore. I was scared of the dentist for a long time. I think growing up, I just had traumatic. I had shark teeth, so I had like double teeth growing in. So I had to get my teeth
Oh,
pulled as a kid, and I just been scared of dentists. So I had to get my wisdom teeth out. And when I tell you, I was avoiding. It was like I forgot why I didn't even like the dentist. I'm like, is it just because
right,
I'm scared? Is it because it hurt? Like I couldn't tell you, but I was avoiding getting my wisdom teeth out to the point where like, where it comes to a point where like, girl, you can't just keep popping Tylenol for the rest of your life. You
right,
gotta go
right.
to the
You got to
dentist.
get there. Yeah,
And so I went through this whole like maybe like several month long process of like the consultation and then like getting everything all scheduled. And then I got my wisdom teeth out and I'm like, oh, this was it? Like it
yeah.
wasn't
It
it
wasn't that
wasn't
deep.
they
Yeah.
put me under, took them out, popped my little, for a week I had to be sensitive with what I ate. And I'm like, yo, imagine how much we're missing out on because we're telling ourselves these stories that you don't even
You
remember why you're
remember,
telling
right?
yourself the
That's
story.
real. That's so real.
And it's like sometimes you just have to like you said, do it while scared, but know like who you are on the other side. And I think now I'm like, yo, I could do anything. I went through the
Right.
dentist. I got my wisdom teeth out. But I think the real takeaway there is like so many of us are like telling ourselves stories, are not really confronting like what's really going on here, not being our authentic selves. And on the other side of that is so much blessings. I know you talked about like being laid off last year and like working through things. But what are some of the blessings that you're seeing, although you're working through this next stage of, what's
Oh,
going on with Kadi?
stillness. I've one thing I've learned, and this I've learned this in motherhood, but this season that I am stamped it. Whatever you are meant to be, however life is supposed to turn out for you, is going to happen. You don't have to do anything. I attribute it,
Mm,
people see you accomplishing a lot of things and they'll be like, oh, you work so hard, you work. And I remember just feeling like having imposter syndrome because a lot of how I ended up where I was, even me going to college, I told you, it wasn't until a few months we're supposed to graduate, I knew what a GPA is. And mind you, I'm getting all these, I was the first in my family to go to college. I'm getting all these congratulations. You going to college, you did it. And I'm like, child, I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. Like, so being still in the year, it's been a year since I've been unemployed. And it's like, I know a lot of, how are you doing this? And I'm like, it is working itself out. I get so sad when I think about, people, I don't know if people ever ask you this being a mom. It's like, what would you think you'll be doing if you didn't have kids? I'll think about it and I'm like, I probably would have been still chasing the hustle. I would have probably been
mm,
living in another country or another state. I probably would have, and it would have looked good on paper. Don't get me wrong. The compliments and oh, you doing good. But it gives a false, it gives the confidence, it gives you this false sense of security, and it
mm,
also doesn't allow you to get the confidence in yourself in any situation, because it's like when I got the good job, it's like, oh, it's because BT said I deserve to be here. Now BT dropped me, it's like I got to build my confidence back up. Oh, I
mm,
graduate school, it's because the school said this, and now I'm out of school. I went through this, I'm sure football players go through this, but when I graduated college, I didn't get a career immediately off the gate. I was
yeah,
homecoming queen. I did three major internships. I went intern for Wendy Williams, MTV, and BET. I was a part of the. I did all the things. Like they damn near had my
yeah,
picture up at the school. And immediately when I graduated, it took me a year, 2 years, to get a job in my field. So going through that, I've been through so many stages where it's like I was allowing external things to be my validation. And then when those seasons will end, I'm stuck trying to build my confidence back up. So this year, And I was intentional about doing nothing. I've been laid off before, and I'll be laid off and I'll be
Mm-hmm.
applying. I'll be like, I gotta find another job, I gotta find my next fit.
Yeah.
And this year, God was like, no, you're gonna be still. You're gonna be still and
Mm.
you're gonna figure it out. And in me being still, I'm talking, and I live in PA now. I socialize when I go. I intentionally socialize when I meet up with my friends. But for the most part, my day to day looks like this while my daughter is at school. And I
Yeah.
still been getting the ideas. I still been being creative. I still been getting financial opportunities without me even looking for it. So it's like, just like you said about your sons, you think you could stop them, but for real, for whatever God has in store for you is not because you work the hardest for it. I know we like to think that it's not because you're the best thing smoking. Sometimes you could be doing nothing and you're still going to get what you deserve because it was written for you already. So that's been the blessing in this, understanding that and understanding there's so much power, yes, in the hustle and the movement, but there's even more power in stillness and just being intentional and letting
And
things come
speaking
to
life into yourself too, when like no,
you.
there's no other thoughts. I think it's like when nothing else is going on, that brain of yours, that manifestation, that speaking life and speaking that positivity into the world, I think really matters.
For
I
sure.
want to kind of wind down a little bit because I want to be conscious of your time. But
Yeah, we can
on
talk
the
all
flip,
day.
I have a flip side question to that, right? Because I know there might be somebody listening, and I think people. I sometimes feel like I don't know if you ever feel like people think that like nothing ever bad happens to you, right? I
Yeah,
sometimes
people
get
think
that,
that way.
but people
Yeah,
are just like you're just blessed. You have a
I'm
unique gift.
talented.
Like it seems like things always work out for you.
Yeah.
There might be somebody right now. I'm not even gonna call them a hater. I'm just gonna say somebody whose story has not been that, who they felt like it's just been struggle after struggle after struggle, curse after curse. I can't catch a break. What would you tell to that dream driver who feels like all they've been getting into is accidents?
Mm. It's all in the story you tell yourself. Like we mentioned
Mm,
before, it's all, there's no one living the perfect life. That's what bothers me when people, I get that all the time.
yeah,
People, I got to the point, I think I posted this one time, like I don't have the luxury to complain because even when I'm complaining, all people see is things always work out for you or look at what you have. But it's all in what you tell yourself. It's all perspective. It's
yeah,
not, no one's living a peachy life. So it starts with that, your inner dialogue and how you talk to yourself. And then from there, not staying down. Yeah, give yourself the time to grieve, to kick, to have your little temper tantrum. But the beauty of life is not just the peaks, it's
yeah.
the valleys. Like, that's where I was just talking to someone about this yesterday. I was like, yo, God could be so egotistical and just make
Mm,
things happen for you. And like, yeah, we give him all the praise, but in reality, he allows you to go through the peak so you can have the confidence and the tools, not only to talk about how you got out of it, but to master it as you go on. So that's like, even when I went through transitions in my life, the thing that keeps me going is like, I've been through this before. Not
mm.
literally in the same way, but the 9-year-old me that went through being deported by my mom is what got me through being in college and dealing with, like, I was in college and people are struggling with friend drama and this.
Like,
And
I've been
I'm
through
like,
this. That's
and I was
nothing.
doing laundry at 9. I could yawn through this. And even being in those corporate spaces, which I know you experienced with being a black woman and probably being in predominantly white environments, it's like,
Constantly having to prove yourself or
I've
constantly
been
having
through
to
the, yeah,
navigate that.
using your valleys to be the validation when you're in the next adversity is what's going to get you through. So the same excitement you get, and that's for me, like I get as excited about my valleys as I do the peaks. I remember getting the call
Mm.
that I'm laid off, and like it's crazy because weeks prior to that, being in the media environment, it's anxiety that I always had.
You could like smell it in the air, like
Yeah, so
shake ups are
I
coming.
actually took a day off that day, and that's so crazy. I just want to tell this story really quick. I was like I needed to, I was going through a lot personally. But
Hmm.
I had, like, I was a senior account manager, so I'm responsible for my work. And you feel like if I take this day off, it's gonna push me even further back because the person who cover me is not gonna do it
Yeah.
right. You just get married to your work. So
Yeah.
I was watching the movie Eat, Love, Pray, I think it is. I forgot
Hmm.
the popular
Eat,
actor.
pray, love. Eat,
Eat,
pray,
Pray,
love.
Love. Yes. It was my first time watching that movie. And watching this sparked like, you deserve rest. And I was like, I remember telling myself, I'm gonna take the day off tomorrow. F that. Like, I know we got mad stuff going on, but I'm gonna take the day off. I need it. I'm losing my mind. And a coworker texted me, like, I knew they were doing layoffs. I'm like, what do you mean? And I remember getting the adrenaline rush, like, oh my God, my heart racing. I was like, is it the whole company or just our department? She was like, the whole company. They said they're gonna send an email. If you get the email, you're part of the people being laid off. So I'm folding my clothes. I was actually turning my walk-in closet into a prayer closet. And I'm like, I'm gonna check later. But I'm in my mind, like, it's not gonna be us because we went through so many layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, when I finally sat down and logged in and I saw that I had the email, you would think I passed out and cried, but there was this immediate feeling. And crazy enough, I'm responsible for my bills and I don't have no one help.
Yeah.
So it's like I should have been scared. I should have been freaking out, but I was like, oh, something good is about to happen. But that's because that's been the story of my life. And I think for people who don't realize that when they're going through adversity, it's because of the story they're telling themselves. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I won't discredit that people can be going through hard things. We all are. And it's not to discredit how that feels. But when you look at the bigger picture and you truly take inventory of your life and everything that you've gone through, I'm sure with every valley, there was a peak. So that just means the peak is coming.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when you were talking, I thought of like, have you ever seen like that thing on Instagram? I think it's a meme, but did you die though? Right? Like
Did
the
you die
idea,
though? No, for real. You be
like,
tired, you be scraped up, but did you die? No.
and I think that the whole, I think even like my father's passing, just realized like how much we have to just be happy for the life that we have, and like nothing's gonna be perfect, but this is just a chapter, right?
Yeah,
Everything's a chapter, and our life is a big story,
for
and
sure.
a story won't be good if every chapter looks the same,
For
right?
sure.
Why
Yeah.
do we watch movies? Why do we like reality TV? Why do we engage in like storytelling? It's
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the whole arc, the whole part of having a story is there's going to be layers to it. There's going to be levels to
Yeah,
it. There's going to be high moments, low moments, but you need that in order to build
for
something
sure.
worthwhile. So thank you for sharing that. And I think it's something that definitely I relate to as well. Last question for you, Cuddy.
Mhm.
Um, to be a dream driver, right, you have to have your keys to success. What do you think, or what are three things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
Mm. One, authenticity. Knowing,
Mm-hmm.
not even, you're never going to know who you truly are because, like I said, I see everything but themselves. So you are constantly
Mm-hmm.
being revealed to yourself. But the ability to tap in with yourself at every moment to make sure you're being true to yourself. You need that. You will never
Yeah.
succeed in being someone else. And it's so easy in this day and age where we're on social media. The most confident person, if you're constantly watching other people's lives every second of the day, eventually
Mm-hmm.
you'll trick yourself into trying to form into them. I don't care how confident you think you are. So we need that daily practice of checking in and say, well, what do I care about? What do I like? So
Yes.
that's for sure one, a secure circle, your
Mm.
people. It don't have to be one group, but going back to my father quote, I see everything but themselves. So the people closest to you are your greatest reflection of yourself.
Yep.
Want to make sure that reflection is a good reflection back. So just really with a tooth no cut, like really going into your
Highlight
circle
this.
and
Double
making sure, yeah,
highlight.
making sure the people you have closest to you are truly mean you well. That's two. And God, whatever you believe in, having a spiritual practice, and even if you don't
Mm.
believe it, having a spirituality to me is just, it's not religion. It's really a relationship with God, which is really a relationship with yourself. The ability
Yeah.
to just take time and check in with yourself is so true because yes, we're human beings, but we're also spiritual beings. So cultivating both is really what's going to get you to where you want to get to in life.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that. You said authenticity, having a secure circle, and a spiritual practice, however that looks like to you.
Yep.
Can you tell our dream drivers where they can find you online if they want to talk to you more, follow your journey, maybe hire you for something? You never know.
Yes,
Someone might be
please.
inspired from this and might be like, I need her on my team. So please let our listeners know.
Okay, well, on Instagram, you can find me at xo.kadi underscore. I also have my podcast, which has a separate Instagram account, Ask Kadi, the voice of reason. I am launching my life coaching business, which I will be doing public speaking events and also one-on-one coaching. You can always DM me, and then we can take it from there until I launch my website.
talking to you made me feel like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because my personal journey this past year has been like this questioning, like, who is
Mhm.
Raina? What am I supposed to be doing? Why am I even still trying with Dreams and Drive? It's 10 years of Dreams and Drive. I'm like, I should be bigger. I should be doing this. But no, like, I am where I'm supposed to
Where
be.
you're supposed to
And
be.
it's gonna make sense, and it is making sense. And I just had an interview yesterday, and the theme of that one, my guest was talking about surrender. She was like, it
Mm,
wasn't until she fully surrendered to who she knew she's supposed to be that things started working out. So
right.
I like the idea of being still. That's the word that you said today, like
Yeah.
surrender, being still. Allow yourself to do that and see what happens, guys. It's for
Sure.
real. It's for true.
Yeah. Dude, I have a quote on my refrigerator now. It says, I've done my part. I trust life or God to meet me halfway. You have to allow, like, you can only work yourself but so much, and you are where you're supposed to be. And when you are in that space of questioning yourself, do the last thing God told you to do. And if that was Dreams and Drive, there's a reason why you're great at it, first of all. You know, I've been
Thank
following you for a
you.
while. This is your calling.
Thank
Where
you.
it's going to take you, you never know. You just got to
Yeah.
commit to the drive. You might not know the full
Girl,
destination.
my gas foot is hurting,
Listen,
but
enjoy the view while
it's
you're driving, but you're gonna get to the destination for sure. And it's gonna be way bigger than you probably your mind could imagine.
and you know, I have personally been scared. You know how you said how when you were working the two jobs, it's like you were more scared about having this paycheck versus
Yeah,
the
yeah,
work. I think for me, it's like fear of success.
yeah.
What will I be able to manage it? And just is saying you are not here to play small, and you don't need permission to move with authority, right? So it was basically like it says you're preparing consciously or not for a bigger role. Your life is shifting from potential to execution. And then
Mm,
lastly, you're rehearsing courage in your sleep.
wow.
Right? And it's also funny. They
Wow.
were like, you're meant to be heard, not just helpful. Right? You're stepping
Wow.
into your season of autonomy, doing things on your timeline without explaining yourself. You're integrating emotion as strength and not weakness. And you're trusting your judgment more than you used to. And I'm like, yo,
Wow.
chat, how you know
That
this?
hit it on the nail. Literally. That hit it on the nail. That's so interesting. I love hearing
Right?
stuff like that. That
Like
dream
it's
was
just
definitely a sign.
so it's just the idea of like these themes. It was always airplanes in my dreams. It's always these random celebrities, but they were like, it's not the random celebrity, it's what type of person that celebrity is. So I have my
Mm.
Viola, you have your Denzel,
These are
you have
strong,
your
confident Rihanna. Like these are
like your
strong,
Joey
confident women.
Badass. I just thought I had Joey because I thought he was fine, but like no,
I'm
it's
cracking
Joey because
up.
of like his whole name, Joey Badass. And it's funny in that Joey Badass dream, I ran into him outside my job.
Mhm.
And when I looked at him, I said, "I thought you had acne on your face." And he was like, "Girl, what?" It was really weird. Like when I ran into him, I'm like, "You look so much different than I thought you looked like, on TV." So it's
Mm.
always like these weird things, but now that I'm realizing it's not the celebrities, what they
What
mean.
they
And
represent. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, use chat a little bit, put some let them help you. Sometimes,
ChatGPT be
it's
getting me through it. Okay. I love it. I love it.
so I'm just sharing that with you because I just feel like we just need to step into ourselves more. And once you
Yeah.
really do, things start lighting up. But
Someone said
thank
to me, you gotta stop. She's like, you're trying to be the moon when you really are the sun. And I feel that like
mm,
you
thank
have to
you.
accept that you are the sun and you gotta move with that intention unapologetically.
Oh, thank you. It's
You're
the
welcome.
it's the part that I'm trying to figure out is like what does that mean? The unapologetic part. What does that mean? And how can I do that confidently and courageously and just lean into it, right? Lean
Yeah.
into it until I'm falling into it. That's
Okay.
basically
Yeah.
it.
Take up the space. That's it. Take
Yeah.
up the space as the opportunities present itself.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, girl. This has been
Thank
such an
you.
amazing conversation, and I really hope our dream drivers took away from it as much as I have today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was great. I was looking forward to it, and I'm glad we finally
I know,
able
and
to.
maybe it was supposed to happen today. You know how we
No,
had to
for
move
real.
around and like
It
it all
was.
worked out. It all worked out. So I'm just really thankful and All right, that's a wrap for today's episode with Kadi. I hope that you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. If you enjoyed this episode first, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you get notifications every time we have a new episode. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at Dreams in Drive across all the social media platforms. And lastly, if you want to join our email community, just go to dreamsandrive.com/join. That's dreamsandrive.com/join to be added to our email newsletter and get weekly updates from your girl Raina. All right, as always, guys, keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye bye.